Now, hello, everyone.
Fingers. Okay, so it's my turn today.
Mhm.
And our episode today is called Surrender and Inner Truth. Letting go to tune in. Love
Ooh.
it, right?
Mhm. I'm scared.
So tonight we're going to be exploring two spiritual cornerstones, which are
Mhm.
surrender and
Mhm.
intuition. And I really felt like I couldn't pick between the two. So I really felt like the two kind of go hand in hand.
Mhm.
So we're going to be really focusing on how do we let go of control, trust our inner knowing, and then discern divine guidance from fear.
Mm.
Because I too kind of struggle with that. So I think that this topic is important because, and again, I like how things kind of come together.
Mhm.
Um, but because of where I'm at on my journey, manifesting has been like a big thing, right? For
Mhm.
me, and focusing on like what it feels like, what it looks like, all those things. But you have to like let go of the outcome and how you think it should play out, as opposed to like just letting it roll out how it's intended to, right? Because
Mhm.
we make these plans and we have these ideas, and so surrendering and letting go to divine guidance, and that's where like the intuition part comes in, right? So being able to like tune in to yourself and say, hey, am I getting gentle nudges to move forward, right? Am I holding myself back because of fear?
Mhm.
um, is this a time to just sit and reflect, right? And what do we do in those times of stillness, right?
Mhm.
Because sometimes in those times of stillness it can feel like maybe we're not doing the right thing, maybe this is the universe telling me this isn't where I'm supposed to go, or all those things start kind of coming up in our minds. So that's
Mhm.
kind of where I feel like this is important, right? It helps us with shifting energy, and shifting energy helps us create new timelines and help us get to where we want to go. So I'm super excited about talking about it. So I just want to take a moment to talk about like what we mean by spiritual surrender. So surrender isn't necessarily like giving up,
Mhm.
right? But it's really more about giving over or going with the flow, right? So we all kind of, at least for me, whenever I think about surrender, I think about if you were to fall into like a really like fast current of water, the
Mhm.
more that you try to swim upstream, right, or fight against the water, the more challenging things are. Where, like, I think they even tell you in survival guides, like, if you find yourself in that situation, to just relax and go where the water takes you. And eventually you will find a point where, you could climb out.
Mhm.
So, like, that's the thing with surrenders. It's about, um, it's a choice to let go of the illusion of control, right?
Mhm.
And trust that there's a greater intelligence guiding your path. And that greater intelligence is you, right? It's your higher self, your spirit team, right? Your guides. And if you're too busy splashing in the water, you can't hear or feel those gentle nudges. So, um, but yeah, and then like I said, it means softening to how things should unfold and being open to allowing how they're meant to. There's that saying where, uh, oh shit, I lost it, but it's like I have a plan and then God laughs, right?
Mhm.
Because we have such a limited scope of what's around us. And a lot of the time, like I know for me, sometimes I struggle with it, especially recently because I'm trying to make these big moves. That I get like, how do I want to say this? Blocked, I guess, by what
Mhm.
I can see around me currently, because the things that are happening around me currently are not aligning with where I'm trying to be. And so then it feels like frustrating, right?
Mhm.
But it's about just having that faith and saying, hey, I know that what I'm doing is working, and I know where I'm going, and what I want will come to me when it's meant to come to me. And like those types of things, right? Where
Yeah.
you're not always trying to hustle and shove and push and be brawny about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, with that being said, surrendering is also not being passive. It's not sitting on your couch and just waiting for things to happen. It's a deeply active choice to stop resisting and to allow the flow of life to move through you. And I think that's like really key. And that's where I also believe that like sitting down and meditating about things and finding your ways of even just focusing on what it is and where you're going, or what is it that maybe you're struggling with, right? And just sit with it for a while and see and be open and asking yourself, you know, the questions like, what can I be doing? Or what do I feel like I'm experiencing, right? And start asking yourself questions so that then you can kind of get that feedback back from yourself. And that is kind of where we get into the intuition stuff, but we'll get into that in a minute. So, do you guys have, or can you think of a time where you experienced a moment of surrender that changed your life?
Yep.
Hit me.
Yep. 100%.
If you're open to sharing.
Yeah. So this was a couple summers ago when I was in New York, and the unit had gone to AT, and they were going to be gone for a month. And I couldn't go because that's when I started having health issues. And so they all left. I showed up to work like one day, like there's nobody there. And I said, you know what? Like, this was like completely out of like my character until I really got into that situation. I was like, nobody's here. Like, I'm just going to take my work computer home, and I'm just going to work from home until they come back. And that's what I did for the next month. But you know how my work was there with the 333rd? Like, I didn't really do much. So I checked my emails, and then I played video games. Like, I went to the gas station and I bought a bunch of, like, I was letting my inner child out 100%. And it wasn't until probably week 2 of me doing this that I was like, I really realized like what was happening. And I was like, oh my God, like I feel so free. Like I'm just having the best time. Like and I don't know how to really explain it. Just allowing my inner child to come out and play and just eat snack foods and play video games and just do whatever it was that I wanted to do. It was pretty amazing at that moment. And I definitely needed it, I think, at that moment.
So, what do you think that you surrendered that let all of that kind of joy and childlike energy to the side?
I obviously let go of a lot of the oh my God, I'm gonna get in trouble. The anxieties that typically, the adult anxieties that typically come with, like, you know, if you're skipping work, like I think that's what a lot of the release was like, just kind of let go. And I think it really kind of helped me transition to where I'm at now, even though I do still struggle a lot of like, the fuck am I doing with my life? But I think like I also know that I needed to take a knee. I needed to just kind of chillax for a little bit, because obviously something bigger and better is coming, and I just needed the break in between. And so I think that was like a nice little stepping stone to here, possibly.
I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Of course.
Tina?
Well, mine was, I never wanted kids, ever. And the older that I got, I started to realize maybe I wanted kids. So I kind of surrendered to that. But I think it's always based around fear, of what could happen. And then I surrendered and I had kids.
Because they were the best blessings ever.
They are truly great kids. They are truly a blessing. They've saved me in many ways that I can't even describe. But forever and ever, I did not want kids. I didn't have kids. Well, I didn't have Ava till I was 30. So, yeah.
And you said that like a lot of your reservations were based around fear.
Fear.
What fears do you think that those were?
Not being a good mom, or the struggle financially. them getting hurt. I mean, I still have that, obviously. All moms have that fear of their kids getting hurt, but I mean, physically and emotionally for the kids, getting hurt. But usually, like, when something happens to me, I just push it in the back of my brain, like, and then with kids, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So I guess really stepping up my game and feeling all the emotions and everything, the stuff that I don't want to feel.
Yeah.
But I feel them now.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Welcome.
I don't know that I can think of like, for me, what the things that come to my mind are like anytime that like a big shift has happened in my life, and it's usually when I say the words, I don't know how it's going to happen. But it'll figure itself out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so anytime that I've gotten to a point where you could say maybe, I don't want to say I lost my faith, but I guess you more rely on it, where you're like, okay, listen, I've tried everything that I know how to do,
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm doing isn't working, or I've reached the limits of, what I know and what I can do. And, I want this thing to happen, or I feel like I need this thing to happen, and I don't know how it's going to happen, but it'll work itself out. And it's like, that is the saying, or when I say, well, come hell or high water, we'll figure it out. It's like, that's my verbal cue to the universe that like, hey, I'm surrendering all control. Jesus, take the wheel. Like, and it always winds up completely different than what I thought in my mind, but in the best way possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for me, the more that I look back on those moments and realize like, hey, that is what I'm doing, is I'm surrendering at that moment, I become more aware of when I'm pushing too hard or trying to control. And when things start to feel like a square peg in a round hole or whatever, and I'm like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Something's going to give,
Mm-hmm.
And then that's usually when things just kind of take off, and,
Yeah.
so I can't give like a specific example off the top of my head, because the things that come to my mind are nowhere near as deep as the two of you. But they're always about like a goal, things that I thought were impossible. And the more that I try to dig in and figure it out, like, for example, getting horses, right, was never something that I thought was ever going to be financially feasible for me, because everybody always tells you that it's too expensive. It's too expensive. It's too expensive. And when I started looking into it, again, my mindset was what?
Too
It's too
expensive.
expensive. So what was the stuff that I was finding? Shit that was too expensive. And then I met someone who's like, well, you could try doing it like this. And I was like, okay, I can handle that, And so, and then from there, it was like, all right, well, that seems viable. Like, I wonder what else, I could find that could make this more affordable or attainable for me. And then that's like when the things I find too, when I ask myself those questions, like a probing question, like, what's something else that I could find, or what's something else that I could be doing, is when I kind of get, I guess, like that divine, inspiration, or an idea, or something pops up, or an opportunity, or whatever starts creeping in, because I'm asking those probing questions, which sends my brain or soul or whatever on this like quest, if you will. So those are kind of some really good examples. So again, thank you everyone for sharing.
You're welcome. I do have another one that's not as deep.
Oh yeah, hit me.
So, way back when I was a flight attendant, one of my very first flights that I did, the engine kind of exploded and caught on fire.
Your first flight?
Yeah.
I would have quit.
Like,
instantly done.
well, listen, that's what was going through my mind. Like, you got to be shitting me, And then right when I got off, I called my parents, and, they're like, yeah, if you want to quit, if you're too scared, something happened, you can, or you can just take this as an opportunity to say these things don't rarely happen in life. So you got yours done and out of the way. Kind of
Chances are it's not going to happen again.
yeah.
Did it happen
So,
again?
no, it did not. Although, as time went on, the 9/11 happened, and I was actually in New York and flew to Detroit that morning. So it's like, I mean, we were fine, but
Yeah, obviously, but that's still scary. You're just thinking.
Yeah. But like, just thinking of the what ifs, and really just letting go of that and just continuing, surrendering to the thought of that kind of
Things
stuff.
might actually just be okay.
Yeah.
And letting go of those fears. Yeah. No, I like that.
That is a good example. I like that one too.
Yeah.
That was good.
So can either of you, like in any of those examples that you've given, right?
Mhm.
Thinking back on it, explain how, like Jen, you kind of touched on it a little bit, like how that felt to you physically, like when you surrender to
I
universe.
definitely felt like a little bit lighter, like you kind of feel like a little bit of a weight's lifted because you got to nurture a part of you that needed nurturing, and you're kind of like, wow, that actually felt great, And I don't know how to really equate it, like, because you said physically, right?
Or whatever.
Or like, I mean, I felt I definitely loved myself a lot more.
Yeah.
Since then, I think that was like, because I obviously had a lot of problems with that in the past, and I still struggle with it at times with like self-love, but like I think that was definitely like what pushed everything over, was like, I got to start putting me first. I didn't always succeed at that. You guys know why, but for the most part, like that's what I was working towards that priority. And now look at where I'm at now. Like, I think that was definitely one of those big obstacles, or I don't want to say triggering events, but it was just one of those events that really shifted things in the direction I needed to go.
Yeah. For me, for the flight attendant thing, I was like, hell yeah. I felt great. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. No one's gonna stop me.
But like almost like an inner knowing and like a confidence that like
yeah
that
That's
maybe
good.
like, hey, I feel good about this decision, right? Like I feel not conflicted, right? I don't know what's a better word for not conflicted, but like
yeah, well, it was still a struggle with me when I kind of was teeter-tottering with wanting kids, not wanting kids.
Sure.
So when I made that decision, I still wasn't confident. I still wasn't for sure. And the only thing that I said is I just let it go. And I say it's in God's hands, and whatever is going to happen is just meant to happen.
Yeah. So like when you get in that mindset right there, like when you're there, do you feel any difference, any shifts in your body as opposed to like before, where you're like hyper focused on it, maybe overthinking, a little bit anxious, right? And then when you say surrender and say, you know what, it's in God's hands and whatever's going to happen happens, right? Do you feel like it eases any of that?
Yeah, because that's how I started thinking, that just everything happens for a reason. And I've always lived off that saying.
And I guess it's like a big focus, right? Is finding whatever your surrendering statement is, right? Like, oh, you know what? I give it to the universe, or, hey, I give it to God, or, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Or like I said, I don't know how, but I know it will work out in the best way possible. Like those are all kind of examples of things that one, you're declaring them to the universe. You're speaking it out loud that like, hey, I'm giving this to you. Right. And then, taking a moment to reflect on that. And when you say those things, like whatever, for the listeners that are out there, whatever
Mhm.
you find your statement is, how do you feel
Mhm.
when you get to that point and when you say those phrases and when you surrender to letting it unfold and stop managing and micromanaging the outcome.
I
So
don't
like
think of it.
yeah. But I just saying, like, I encourage those who are listening to
Oh, yeah.
maybe use that as like a journal prompt
Yeah.
or really just sit with it and be like, hey, you know what? Because like the more that you realize that's what you're doing, the
Uh-huh.
more you'll realize when you get to a point where you're trying to dictate the outcome too much,
Yeah.
like you'll get there faster, right?
Mhm.
So where you can be like, oh, you know what? Sorry for being a backseat driver. My bad.
Yeah.
I'll let you
Yeah.
drive.
No, yeah, like when I say that things happen for a reason, like when I tell Ava, like she's always like, "Ah," and I'm just like, you just got to let it go. And
Yeah.
whatever's happened is just meant to happen, And then I just move on because, I'm always, so I just don't think about it.
Yeah.
And then she sees what happens and it just happens. And I always tell you, because you got to throw it out in the universe. Just
Yeah.
like with her college choice, she didn't think she was going to go, that she was ever going to get accepted. And very last minute, it happened. And she's like, oh my God, this stuff never happens. And I'm like, figure it out.
Well, not with a mindset like that. It's
Right.
never
Not
gonna
with an
happen.
attitude like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
I think that's.
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
I was
go
gonna say. I think that's a really good a little thing that people can practice
Mhm.
to start feeling like those things, because a lot of us are overthinkers. A lot of us do have anxiety problems. And when you start dissecting those things and then start slowly letting go of those anxieties and those worries that you typically would stress over, like clock what you feel after, because I do that a lot. That is one thing I have noticed is there's because I do have a lot of anxieties. I have a lot of paranoias and stuff. And so there's times I got to talk myself out of it. And as soon as I do, it's like this calmness just kind of radiates, and then you're just you let it go. I don't know. So that's one of the main things that I notice.
Like a big thing that's up for me, right, is we know it's coming to the end of the fiscal year. So where am I going? Part of me is like, I don't want to keep repeating this same thing because I want to move on to the next thing. And also to if I continue down this way, some of the second and third order effects that will happen, are also things that are not in alignment with me anymore. And so I go to work and I do my tasks and I do the things, but I'm also it feels like I'm in a fuzzy place where I'm tuning in a radio station, right? Where it's parts of my life will be like, whew, and it starts tuning into that old station. And then there's where it tunes into woo, okay, we're getting into where I want to be. So I'm in this space, and Jen has been on the phone with me where I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't have a backup plan. I'm fucking freaking out, man. Right? And I started feeling that way, and I was like, nope. We're not doing that. We're not falling into fears of the unknown. We're not falling into old habits. Whatever happens on September 30 is what's going to happen, and it's always going to work out for me. Whatever it is, no matter what it looks like, it is always working out in my favor. And it's the second that I was just again, I don't know how it's going to happen. I just know that whatever's about to happen is going to be fucking fantastic. All these little opportunities started coming, little nudges, little pushes that are fuck it. I literally just fuck it. I'm doing it. I'm jumping in both feet. Right. And now I want to now I'm getting a little bit, driver where I'm okay, what can I do now? What can I do next? What can I go after? Who can I call? What phone calls can I make? What papers can I turn in? Hey, I don't have a studio right now. What can I do for yoga? I've been hosting yoga on the weekends at the park on Saturdays. These are things that I can be doing to just keep moving forward. And it's the more I keep moving forward, the more clarity. But I had to let go of that fear. I had to just really lean into the fact that the universe has got me. It's never failed me, so it's not going to fail me now. And again, just really kind of relying on that faith.
Mhm.
And that's like one of the reasons why it kind of segues into my next little segment here, the illusion of control, right? And why we resist surrender. And it's all of those things we've already really kind of talked about a lot. The
Mhm.
fear of the unknown, right? Traumas that we've maybe have suffered or past experiences that we think are going to repeat themselves. Oh, well, the last time I tried this, this happened, right?
Mhm.
And then our ego, right? Our ego telling us, you know, that little Veronica or what do you call yours?
Penelope.
Penelope, right? Starts coming in and you know, filling your head full of all these like limiting beliefs and self-doubts, and all those things come in, and that's what gives us essentially it's that fear. It all creates fear, whether the ego or your trauma or just the unknown, right? It creates a fear. And so then our mind goes into that like survival mode where it's like, oof, if I go out there, it's too scary.
Yeah.
Right. And then Tina, what cards did you pull today? Which also is also cool because I think it really just ties right into this about always shining.
Yeah.
And
Shine bright and don't hide.
there you go.
Don't hide.
Shining bright and not hiding. And I think that's a part of what comes with surrender, right? Because we stop hiding behind that fear. We stop hiding in the shadows, right? And dimming our light because we're scared, you know. So I think that by surrendering too, not only does it help us achieve the things that we want to achieve, but it also helps us find more about ourselves, right? Not only like what are we capable of, but just really truly tapping into like your purest form, right? So there's like, and I think that's why that peace comes, because now there's no more resistance, right? Of whatever that is, trying to be someone else or fit in or whatever. When you surrender and we just let it flow, like we kind of come back to our authenticity, right? But those are the things that usually keep us from surrendering. So I encourage you to reflect, and no one has to share. I mean, if you feel so inclined to share, you can, but if there are areas in your life where maybe you're gripping too tightly, contemplative thought, that is there somewhere that you could release the grip? What's that song? Hold on loosely and don't let go. If you cling too tightly, you're gonna lose control. Right? Words, it's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that kind of sums up talking about surrender and really kind of getting into that and what that feels like and some things that you can do, things to think about in your life where maybe you're gripping too tightly. So with that, right, as we surrender to things, it allows us more space in our mind where we're not overthinking and being riddled with fear and all the what ifs, right? To then be in a place where our intuition can reach us. So that kind of segues into, and that's why I really thought that these two topics were so closely aligned. We would just talk about them together.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah. So this is going over like intuition versus fear, right? And so a lot of the time with intuition, it's, well, not a lot of the time. Intuition is the quiet inner knowing that guides us toward alignment. And that's why I said, I think a lot of the time when we surrender, the reason we kind of get that like whooshing kind of calming feeling is because we're falling into an alignment. We're no longer trying to swim upstream. So it's the voice of your soul, subtle, steady, often felt before it's heard. Right?
I have a story for that when you're done.
Yeah. So a lot of the time we'll get like, some people feel it in their gut. Some people maybe just feel relaxed or expansive. a lightness or releasing, and like a calm, like you can breathe, right? Um, even might even feel like a physical sensation of like muscles relaxing, right? So a lot of people, I feel like when their intuition is trying to nudge them, though, we say something like, something told me to, and so I did it, or something told me to and I didn't do it. But you kind of get this, oh, you know what? Something's telling me to try. Like, that's for me. That's what I always say. Something's telling me, and I know what that something is. It's my intuition, right? And it is. It for me, I don't know that I necessarily have a physical response, but like some people will. They'll get like real focused on their belly. And that's why a lot of the time I think people say like a gut instinct. You know, what about you guys? Can you like think of how when your intuition is trying to reach you, does it impact you physically?
It
Yeah.
depends. It depends on what the situation is, but yeah, there's times I'll get a literal gut feeling.
It almost feels like an empty pit, kind of.
Mm.
Like, you know, that stage right before you hit nausea?
Yeah. But
It's like-
is that your just always? Is that just a, hey, listen up because I'm about to tell you something? Or is that more like, hey, this is my spidey senses tingling and this is danger, Will Robinson?
No, it's like spidey senses. And it's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, depending on what the situation is, it's like, oh, I can't do that. No, you should go for it, you know. So either way it goes, it's just like my stomach feels like it goes like this. And then it's almost nausea, but it's not.
Yeah. No, I know exactly.
And then right when you do what you're gonna do, what your inner self tells you to do, then it's like, whew,
yeah,
and it goes away. It like releases.
Yeah. Jen, did you have something to add to that?
No, like I said, mine's mainly situational. Like there's certain situations where I feel it in my gut, and other situations I just feel it. Like I can't pinpoint a specific sensation. I can just feel it. Like,
would you call it like a deep sense of just like yes or no?
I wouldn't restrict it to just yes or no, because sometimes that deep sense is like good or bad. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'll get that about a person. I'll be like, bad person. You know what I mean? That's not, I mean, I guess that could be yes or no, because my gut's
It's
saying,
like, nope.
no, absolutely not. Get away. And then stupid Jen's like, no, it'll be okay.
We'll be friends.
Just kidding. We don't do that no more. We listen to the instincts now.
Tina, did you want to share your story real quick?
Okay, so like I was mentioning in the beginning before we started recording, that I am doing a solo mama trip. And okay, so before I had kids and before I got married, I would do everything by myself. Like I would always go on trips. I would go to New York. I would go to Florida. I'd go to California. I would do stuff all the time. And it was so relaxing. Well, since I had kids, I've never done a trip. Okay. And I think I was telling you guys this last week because I was just, everything is just so, you know. And I said, I told this to my husband, I said, you know, you go to work and when you get vacation, you have time to have that release of stress. I said, when the kids go to school and then they have vacation, they have a time to release their stress away from that situation. I said, me, I don't get that. Because I'm always going 24 hours a day, beck and call at everybody's feet. I feel like I never get a break for myself. And then when they're on vacation, I'm doing it 3 times as much. So I just kind of wanted to do something for myself, and I kind of wanted to go on vacation. And I told him that. I was like, you know, it'd be nice. I go, you could either take the kids away and go somewhere, leave me be here by myself for, 3-4 days. I said, or I can go somewhere. And he's like, So I didn't say anything after that, you know, but I really wanted to make it a point because I feel like I just felt like it was time. And then my birthday's coming up in a couple of days. So the other day,
Happy birthday soon, Tina.
thank you. He had sent me a message and he was like, happy birthday. And he pulled up all the flights and said, pick where you want to go. Peace out. So with that being said, it was like when I was physically getting ready to book it, my inner self was like, no, don't do it, because mom guilt comes in.
Mhm.
You know, you don't, why are you doing this? You know? And I kept telling myself, no, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, no, well, maybe I can just go away for a couple of days, like, and stay somewhere. Just do something else, you know, because obviously I'm going on a plane and I'm getting out of here. But as soon as I booked it, I knew that it was real. And then it was just like, so
I'm super glad you shared that, because that's one of my questions is, have you ever confused fear with intuition? And so I feel like that's a really prime example of, right, that little voice that was like, who are you to book this? You're a mom. How are you going to abandon your family during the summer? You don't deserve to do these things. You know, whatever was going through your brain, right? That's not your intuition, right? That is all the things we talked about before of why we resist surrendering, right? Is the fear of the unknown, traumas that we've suffered in the past that, you know, or even just conditioning that says that, well, because you're a mother, you are not allowed to do things on your own, right? Or because you have a family, you know, you somehow lose your autonomy, you know, because had it been something that was not aligned with you, like, then you wouldn't have felt that, like, release of, hey, I'm honoring myself and the things that, like, my soul is screaming for right now, right? Which is just a little me time.
Yeah. And then I called Jen and I was like, you're not going to believe what, you know, happened. Like, I sent her a message and I was like, I need to talk to you. And she goes, I can tell in your voice, you know, I can tell that you're having that mom guilt. And I go, yeah, but, and she goes, no, she goes, listen, what did you say? You said, this is really for you. This is like a soul, like,
that
like,
you're on a journey, because she also like verbalized to me that, you know, she had this inclination of creating, like, she's like, maybe I should do like a YouTube vlog. And I was like, yeah, like, absolutely. Because I do believe that Tina's going to go through something spiritual. And like, I mean, you're already going through like healing things, but I think you're going to peak on the solo trip and you're going to go through something spiritual. And like all the signs from what I'm seeing, all the signs are pointing that you're about to go through something. And I think it would be epic if you vlogged it.
That's what I'm going to do on my channel. I'm going to go ahead. It's going to be solo mama trip. And I'm going to vlog everything from packing all the way up until where I'm going, when I get there, what I'm doing, all that stuff.
Super fun.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? So I just feel like it is now, like, I know that this was meant for me because just everything is lining up. Like, there's nothing that's setting me back or me regretting anything. It's just like, no, here you go. Boom. There. And then
and like that's another little confirmation, right? That's like, oh yeah. And like, these are the things you can pay attention to, right? Where like you booked it first, you got a really like overwhelming sense of calm, ease, excitement, like, okay, cool. And then, like you said, as you're booking it, like it's super cheap, and oh, this thing became available, and oh, look, I had a coupon or whatever it is, right? And now, so it takes away, and like it makes it, like you said, seamless, and like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. And now it's starting to flow like effortlessly. And that's how you know like you're in alignment, because you didn't have to you didn't experience any blocks or hurdles or challenges because it was meant for you. And it just was seamless. Jen, can you recall a time where maybe you've ever confused fear with intuition or vice versa? Or had a hard time discerning what the gut feeling you were having was?
Oh, I mean, yeah,
feeling
like
for?
there's plenty of times, but I think it wasn't, I don't think I was really having an issue telling the difference if it was fear or my intuition, because I think what I was doing, I was obviously justifying, and I don't want to obviously go into super details, but
Yeah.
like a lot of the times that I confuse it is when I'm starting a relationship or getting in a relationship with someone, and you start seeing those red flags and your gut's like, no, no, no. But then you're like, oh no, that's just fears because my ex did this and I'm just looking, you know what I mean? So like you kind of start doing that, and then you when you look back, you're like, no, my gut was definitely telling me, like, you got to listen to your intuition. But as that's like really the only time I can really think of, like anytime I would have really confused the two, but I feel like it wasn't really me confusing it. It was just
you ignoring it.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
I can't tell you how many times I've been like, something told me and I didn't listen.
And I didn't
here we
listen.
are.
If I had a nickel for every time I ignored my intuition,
that usually happens. that usually happens to me when I'm driving. I'm like, I bet you it's going to be traffic and it's going to be blocked off down here. I should go down this other road. No, let me just go ahead and continue.
Yeah.
And then
in your face, that's happened to me too. It's like, oh my, like something's telling me I should go that way. Nah, it'll be fine. Train, because in my town the trains like to hold us hostage.
Sure.
So
they're like the longest trains ever, right?
Yeah, for absolutely no reason.
Yep.
So we kind of talked about some of them, some of the physical or spiritual cues that can help you kind of discern between the two. And so, really they're like polar opposites, right? So you could have like an overall feeling of calm, clear, inner knowing, expansion, ease, all those gentle things we were talking about, where they just kind of like, where you can, a lightness and you feel like you could take a breath, where like, that's how you know that you're listening to your intuition. And then like fear is usually going to result in like tension, anxiety, agitation, right? Everything feels like it's forced, right? It's difficult. So that's where you can kind of be like, hey, everything feels really difficult right now, and take a pause and be like, am I clinging too tightly to this thing, right? Yeah. Is there somewhere that essentially your intuition is trying to guide you to surrender, right? Like, hey, if you just kind of let go, it reminds me of Dory. If you've ever seen Finding Nemo, when they're in the whale and she's like, he's telling us to let go. And he's like, we're not going to let go. He's going to eat us. And she's like, no, I think it's going to be fine. And he's like, but how do you know? And she's like, I don't. And she just lets go. Right. And they get spat out and they're where they need to be. Right. So those are like some of the things that kind of come into my mind, where Marlon's listening to his fear, right? He's fear of being eaten, fear of being lost, fear of being set back. And she's just like, just go with it.
Yeah.
And again, so all these things, like an energy quality is going to be relaxed, expansive, drawing forward, where you're on the fear side, you're going to feel more tense, constrictive, pulling back, pushing against. And so we can kind of go, through the whole thing. You might get physical sensations where when you're kind of aligning and listening to your intuition, you get those gut feelings. Again, everything's just easy and light. And where if you're leaning more into your fear, you might literally be gripping or trembling, or your heart may be elevated, like your heart rate may be elevated, feeling like maybe you can't breathe, which are all kind of signs and symptoms of what? Anxiety.
Yeah.
Right. So when we're getting that anxious feeling, it's our body letting us know that we are pushing too deep into the fear. Right. And we're letting that fear kind of control us. So same thing, breathing could be quick, shallow, difficult, where if you're in alignment, you're feeling like that weight's been lifted off your chest. and your body language can change, right? So I notice sometimes when I'm sitting on the couch,
Mhm.
For whatever reason, I haven't quite figured it out yet because I don't feel like I'm thinking about anything, but maybe subconsciously I'm processing things. I will find myself tensed and I'll be like, why are my muscles so tense? And I'll be like, actively have to like release
Mhm.
the tension in my body. Like I'll just notice all of a sudden I'm like this, or I'm laying there and my legs are all tight, and I'm like, why am I like that?
Mm.
So like
Mhm.
you could be finding yourself more in like a hunched, tightened posture. When we sit like this or our arms are crossed, right? Those are all body language things of blocking or being small because we're unsure.
Mhm.
Where when we're in alignment, we may find ourselves in a more open posture or a more relaxed posture. So those are kind of just some comparisons to be mindful of when you feel like you're not sure if you're leaning into fear or leaning into your intuition. So those are kind
Yeah.
of because like you had mentioned that uh, whether your intuition is a yes or a no, you kind of get the same feeling at first, like the flutter in the gut and
Mhm.
kind of that almost like I'm going to vomit feeling. Um, but if you lean into it in a way where it's like a fearful thing, like I'm sure that you probably have other like physical symptoms as opposed to like if you take that pause. Like if you were
Yeah.
to take that gut feeling as always meaning something bad was going to happen,
Yeah.
as opposed to like taking that pause and being like, okay, what does this mean for me in this
Yeah.
situation? And really taking in the rest of the context clues to kind of figure it out. Um, let's see. So again, we kind of already talked about this, right?
Mhm.
Trusting the inner compass.
Yeah.
So the more we surrender, I think,
Mhm.
like I said, kind of talked on this before, the clearer our intuition becomes
Mhm.
because we let go of all that fear that kind of clouds our judgment and creates so much noise and distraction that we're unable to maybe feel those nudges. Because I know, like, that's been a big thing for me. It's like I've like been like, oh, I really want to tap into my intuition more. Like, I really want to. And then, like, the more that I do become more cognizant of it, I realize that it's been there all along. I've just been ignoring it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that, like, now that I'm aware of what it is and,
Mhm.
that gut feeling or that thing that's like, no, seriously, turn now,
Yeah.
get stuck at the train, like, uh, it's becoming easier, but it is still something that I find myself still being like, dang,
Mhm.
something told me. Um, So another like prompt or takeaway thought here for everyone to think about is like, what does surrender look like for me right now? So again, we talked about maybe there's something that you say that you don't realize the impact that it has on your mindset, on your out, the way
Mhm.
that you process things. Every time I'm saying this, I'm like, that's just another way to say mindset. But like it shifts. And when your mind shifts, like everything shifts. Your energy shifts, your
Mhm.
opportunities shift, things that you
Mhm.
start seeking shift. Um, so think about that. And I think that really ties into the question we said earlier of where in your life are you maybe gripping too tightly? Right. And then what would surrender look like for that thing?
Interesting.
Mm.
Yeah. So just a little recap. Surrender is our strength.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And intuition is your soul's compass. So
I love it.
anytime
Mhm.
that you feel lost, just know that you have all the answers and that you are being guided, and all you have to do is just pause,
Mhm.
ask the questions, and listen for the answers.
I like it.
And then if anybody who's listening wants to share a story with us, feel free to DM us or tag us on
Mhm.
our socials, even though I think
Mhm.
that we've been a little lacking in our social department.
Yeah. Yeah, a little
Um,
bit.
but this could be what brings us back. So
Yeah.
That's
we would
right.
love to hear your stories and your thoughts, and um, you know, if there's something that maybe you share that might help someone else feel
Mhm.
like they're not alone or that they're experiencing something
Mhm.
different. So some little suggestions here on maybe your surrendering statements. Here's some ideas for you to take away from. I surrender what I cannot control and
Mhm.
trust what I feel within. I like that one.
I do
that.
like. I like that one too.
Let's see here. I thought I had another one, but I guess not. So if you're listening right now, I invite you to just take a pause and take a gentle breath in, and we can all do this together.
Okay.
Yes, I love this.
Exhale it all out, get loose and limber. And then just drop your awareness into your heart space. And imagine a soft, glowing light. And that light is your inner compass. And anytime that you feel lost, take a deep breath in. Let it out. Bring your awareness back to this space. Imagining that soft, glowing light right there at your heart center with a little compass floating around in it. And it's always there, quietly guiding you. And you can ask yourself, where in my life am I gripping too tightly? What would it feel like to let go? Is there a decision or path where I've been unsure? What does my body say? Does it feel peaceful or panicked? Breathe into whatever comes up. There's no right or wrong answer, only the truth unfolding. And when you're ready, just take another deep breath in and let it out. And come back to that whenever you need it.
I like it.
That was good. Like you sparked like so many thoughts. Like I'm going to be doing a lot of deep thinking tonight for
I love it.
sure.
I love
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, here they are. My other little affirmations. I knew I had a couple more. I surrender what no longer serves me.
Mhm.
I trust that my inner knowing will never leave me astray. I'm safe to let go. I'm ready to receive. That's a good one.
Mhm.
My intuition speaks in stillness, and I am learning to listen. And I think that one's a good one for me when I feel
Mhm.
like, oh, I can't ever get it right. That's like what I always know. Something told me.
Mhm.
And instead, I think that's a good shift in words. My intuition speaks to me in stillness, and I'm learning to listen.
I need to
Yeah.
get all that tattooed on me.
I know, right? I release control and welcome divine alignment. That's what
I like it.
So
Yeah.
those are
No,
some
I love it. I don't like
some
it. I
little
love it.
things. Those can either be your little mantras when times feel sticky. And like I said, coming up with your surrendering statement, I think there's a few things that we've said throughout the way here that you could come up with what really resonates with you. And I hope you find that helpful.
Yeah.
Thank
That was
you.
great, Liz. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you guys.
Yeah. And thank you, buddies, for tuning in as
Yeah.
always. Okay, bye.
Bye.